Hi, this is Barb from RECUR360 Technologies. In today's demo, we'd like to show you some of the advanced features of our Recurring Invoices module. When you create a recurring invoice in RECUR360, you have the ability to create some additional customizations that QuickBooks does not offer. So if I create a recurring invoice here for my Barco customer, let's say that I would like to invoice this customer on a monthly basis every 1 month on the 5th day of each month. I add the line items that I would like to have on this recurring invoice. So I'm going to add a service item here. I'm going to add that for $125 every month, and I would like to customize the description that goes out to the client in this particular invoice every month. So we have variables that will allow you to put code into the description of the line item and personalize that every month automatically. So I can put in the description services performed for the period of, and then put invoice date as a variable. It'll put in the code there, and then to, and then I want to put the day before the next invoice date. So that is the coverage period for these services for when they will be able to be performed for this particular recurring invoice. So then I save that line item. One of our other advanced features for recurring invoices is the ability to prorate and also have items appear only once on a recurring invoice. So I'm going to show you both of those now. In the blue area of the recurring invoice setup, I can choose to prorate or backdate the first invoice that I'm creating. So when I check this box here, now my start date is going to affect when the next invoice will be generated. Right now the start date for this is 11/1, and it's told to create it on the 5th of every month. Normally without prorating, that invoice would not happen until November the 5th. But since I've prorated it and told it to start on 11/1, it will create a prorated invoice on the 1st for the amount that is the difference, and then another invoice on the 5th of November. I'm going to go further and backdate that invoice to today's date. So I'm going to put that in as Tuesday the 5th today, and then I'm going to say that instead of them creating invoices on the 5th day of every month, I would normally create them on the 15th of every month. So I can see that this will now be prorated either when I press process transactions today or overnight tonight when it creates invoices. Scrolling down to the bottom of the screen, I'm able to see the dollar amount that will be prorated for the first invoice, and then the full amount for any subsequent invoices that are going to get created. So right now my first invoice will be a total of $44.80, and every invoice after that will be $134.38. I'm also going to add a second line item to this. Let's say that you have a setup fee or a piece of hardware that needs to go out to the client the very first time this invoice gets created. So when I add that other new line item, now that I've turned on prorating, if I send them a monitor, not only can I add that, but I can tell it not to prorate this item because it is a piece of hardware, so it doesn't get discounted or prorated. And I want to delete it after the first invoice. So this will only appear on the very first invoice that goes out. Check that box, and when I press save, my totals will be updated here to reflect that now my invoice is going to be $184.01 for the first time, and then $134.38 every time after that. You can see that my line item for my 24-inch monitor has a check mark for not prorating, a check mark for deleting after the first run, and that it is at full price, not discounted. Now, when I press the submit button, I'll also tell it to email this, by the way, and then I'm going to submit this. This will run automatically overnight tonight and push into QuickBooks and email to the customer, or I can press process transactions, which will go review all of the recurring invoices and create any that it needs to. So while this is green, it's reviewing all of those recurring invoices, seeing which ones need to be renewed based on the next recur period, and creating invoices for those. The example we are using today is connected to a QuickBooks desktop account, so it is creating the invoice and queuing them up to be synced over to QuickBooks. using our web connector. So let me go update selected on the web connector. That will process all of those and push them into QuickBooks, and then we'll be able to see that invoice as it got created there. While we're waiting for that, we can go look at the invoice and see the details of it to see what was included in it. So for this particular invoice, has not been assigned a QuickBooks invoice number yet. That'll come back when the web connector finishes. And it does say that it was for services performed for the period of 10/5/2021 through 10/14/2021, because the next invoice for this will get created on 10/15. So I got my total amount there. I also set this one that it is processing a payment automatically, so it is a fully paid invoice now that has posted into QuickBooks. So now if we look in QuickBooks, we will see that invoice has appeared here with the payment linked to it. If I open that invoice, it looks just like it does in RECUR360 with the description of the date in the line description here. So it says the same services performed for the period of 10/5 through 10/14. And it is marked as paid as well. Further, for that particular recurring invoice, since I told it to only add that line item once, I will now see that it has been removed for the next recurring invoice. If I go search for that particular customer and I look at that recurring invoice that is going to happen on the 15th of October, when I scroll down to the bottom now, my service item is remaining there at full price for $125. And the total is $134.38. The monitor has been removed from the recurring invoice and doesn't appear on any further ones, but the rest of the recurring invoice is set just like it was. So those are some advanced features that should be able to help you out with customizing how your recurring invoices work, how they look, and how they post into QuickBooks. Thanks for watching.